Heya Cryptozens, it's 10 p.m. Pacific time. My name is Nikodemus, and welcome back to the Crypto Overnighter, where we take a nightly look at the crypto, NFT, and metaverse space. And keep in mind, nothing in this show should ever be considered financial advice. All right, it's 10 p.m. Pacific on November 20th, 2022, and here we go. South Korea is investigating native tokens. After a year where native cryptocurrencies turned into one of the biggest contributing factors of crypto firms collapsing, the South Korean government is getting involved. Specifically, their financial authority, the Korea Financial Intelligence Unit, started paying attention as they launched their probe into crypto exchanges. Specifically, exchanges where the practice of listing in-house native tokens is involved, because Korean law prohibits exchanges from offering their own tokens. And that's what this investigation is all about, ensuring regulatory compliance in order to protect investors. Because at first glance, it looks like all of the crypto exchanges are operating in a legal manner across South Korea. That said, a spokesperson for the Financial Services Commission, or FSC, said that they were planning on deeper investigations because they still have concerns over in-house tokens. Now, I would think that this compliance would be a simple yes or no thing. Apparently, it's not quite that simple. Here's an example. The Flata exchange is one of those exchanges that the South Korean government is worried about. They've been investigating them since January of 2020 over the Flat token. So I would think that would be a open and shut thing, but I guess not. That said, other exchanges like Upbit and BitThumb have been given the all clear by South Korean authorities. Now, even though the major players in the area are in the clear, the government investigators will be looking at these smaller exchanges. And of course, like seemingly everything else these days, FTX figures into this. South Korea was at the top of the charts in terms of countries impacted by FTX's collapse. Almost 300,000 unique visitors every month to FTX. Another token in trouble belongs to the American CryptoFed, which is funny because a name like that, you'd expect that the Securities Exchange Commission wouldn't bother them. Yet here we are. Because the SEC has started administrative proceedings against the decentralized autonomous organization, specifically its registration. This would be a stop order that would take away their registration and bar them from selling their own native tokens, Ducat and Lock. So this means the first DAO to get legal recognition in the United States is in danger of losing that recognition after the SEC found issues with their legal forms submitted on September of last year. American CryptoFed became the first DAO recognized after the Wyoming Secretary of State's office recognized them as a legal entity in July of last year. That is until 2 days ago, on the 18th of November, when the SEC started administrative hearing proceedings against them to determine if a stop order should be issued. This stop order is what would retract their registration as well as ban them from selling their in-house tokens. This comes after the SEC's enforcement division decided that they have a problem with the DAO's S1 registration. The SEC said that the DAO's statement lacks important details like financial statements. They did say that they think that what was present in the filing is full of misleading statements and omissions. David Hirsch is the chief of the Enforcement Division's Crypto Assets and Cyber Unit. And he said, quote, American CryptoFed not only failed to comply with the disclosure requirements of the federal securities laws, it also claimed that the securities transactions that they seek to register are not, in fact, securities transactions at all. And so it sounds like the SEC is saying that American CryptoFed has been less than cooperative during the investigation. And Hirsch has made it clear that the SEC wants to shut these guys down. Now, Binance has started an industry recovery fund. This fund is designed to help projects that are struggling with liquidity problems. That said, CZ has clarified that this is for strong projects only. He said liars and fraudsters will never qualify. So, while CZ has not laid out what projects would and wouldn't qualify, he did say teams who think that they might be a match should get a hold of Binance Labs, because Binance Labs is their venture capital firm arm. CZ wants to make this a community thing. He's calling on other industry leaders that are interested to take part. He said, quote, "Crypto's not going away. We're still here. let's rebuild. FTX has begun the process of a review of their assets on a global scale, and they're talking to PWP, Perella Weinberg Partners. However, PWP's participation is up to the bankruptcy court. So in that filing, 101 of the 130 or so companies under the FTX umbrella have said that they're taking part in a strategic review of assets. This is part of their attempt to maximize the value for the stakeholders that they failed to protect. Because the entire thing isn't bankrupt. John J. Ray III is SBF's replacement as CEO of FTX through this restructuring process. He has said that several FTX affiliates aren't bankrupt at all, that they could be sold out to cut losses. He also points out that some, like LedgerX, are exempted from the bankruptcy filing. He said, quote, "Either way, it will be a priority of ours in the coming weeks to explore sales, recapitalizations, or other strategic transactions with respect to these subsidiaries and others that we identify as our work continues." In addition to that, FTX's debtors have filed a set of motions that would provide some interim relief. This is due to be heard in a couple of days on the 22nd of November. Perhaps that investigation will clear up some questions about Sam Bankman-Fried's personal finances, because it doesn't look good, again. So here's what we know. According to a report from the Wall Street Journal, SBF took over 70% of the money that was supposed to go to FTX from a funding round in October of last year. Now, he said that this money was due to him because of the Binance buyback deal. Back when they were still friendly, Binance's CEO, CZ, invested in FTX. Well, last year, they were bought out, in part with a big old pile of FTX's native token that is now currently worthless. This funding round closed in October of last year, with FTX seeing $420 million in their Series B. That brought the company's valuation up to $25 billion at the time. Now, when investigators were pledging their support, Sam told them that the money would mostly be used to engage with regulators and to improve the general user experience. Well, that didn't happen, because out of the $420 million, Sam pocketed $300 million of it. So he cashed out a part of his stake for that $300 million. Now, he's explained that as a partial reimbursement. He claims to have used his own personal money to help buy back Binance's stake in the FTX. Now, this is in addition to a filing put out by John J. Ray that said SBF collected $1 billion in loans from FTX's silo companies. These are personal loans coming from one of the four companies that are heavily involved in the collapse. And that's not all. Because while Alameda Research loaned $1 billion directly to Sam, FTX's director of engineering, Nishad Singh, also received a loan, and his was for a mere $543 million. And keep in mind, this guy Ray, he handled the Enron bankruptcy proceedings, as well as all the settlements against that company. So keep that in mind when you hear him describe the, quote, complete failure of corporate controls, as well as a complete absence of usable financial information. Quote, from compromised systems integrity and faulty regulatory oversight abroad to the concentration of control in the hands of a very small group of inexperienced, unsophisticated, and potentially compromised individuals, this situation is unprecedented. And it appears that FTX's disbursement of funds, their methodology was completely unorthodox. Listen to this. Quote, employees of the FTX group submitted payment requests through an online chat platform where a disparate group of supervisors approved disbursements by responding with personalized emojis. Now, frankly, I'm not sure what the loan was needed for. Because as Ray tells the story, corporate funds were used for personal purposes all the time. Corporate funds were used to buy houses for employees and associates. And not only was the disbursement of funds highly erratic, so was the custody. One of the business practices called out by Ray was the use of unsecured group emails that had private keys and sensitive data for the entire global operations. They also didn't reconcile their holdings daily, and they used software to cover up their misuse of customer funds. And that was the mechanism that meant Alameda never got auto-liquidated. So, with all this nonsense around exchanges and other custodians proving themselves to be bad actors in the space, I've been known to harp on people getting their money off the exchanges before the exchange loans your money out and you end up with nothing. One way to do that is through a hardware wallet. Well, it turns out that rapper Drake is a huge Bitcoin fan. This year, he wagered over $380,000 in Bitcoin betting on the Super Bowl in a series of 3 bets. 3 bets that he won, by the way. So he isn't just a Johnny-come-lately trying to latch onto crypto and make a quick buck out of it. It sounds like he's just as serious about protecting his holdings as you are interested in protecting yours. Because he posted a picture on Friday of his diamond-encrusted Ledger Nano with the caption of, "Waiting on you, Bitcoin." Now, see, the thing here is, Ledger says that they have nothing to do with it, that it's not an ad. It's not the case like with Gunna, wearing a 20-carat diamond chain to the Met Gala that had a diamond Ledger pendant on it. It's not like the rapper YG, showing off a Ledger wallet in his music video for Sacred Money. The hardware wallet is in several shots as YG holds it up for the camera. And Saweetie, for her video for the song Closer, Ledger partnered with her on an iced-out wallet. But those were all official collaborations. Ariel Wengroff is Ledger's VP of Communications. She said, quote, "We learned about Drake's ice-out Ledger the same way the rest of the world did, via his Instagram story today. Ledger doesn't have a partnership with Drake and didn't give him that ledger, but we're not surprised Drake gets the power of self-custody and protecting his assets, self-sovereignty above all else. So it's apparently just one of those naturally occurring events." And that's going to do it for us tonight. I want to thank you, my listeners, because when you stop listening, I will stop talking. We'll see you tomorrow night.